We are very lucky that we are alive. If this would fall inside, we'd be buried underneath.
Everything in the house was just shaking, and the windows were shaking, and I was in bed just crying because I didn't actually know what was going on.
I'm diabetic. Once the refrigeration went off, my insulin would be spoiling.
For the last 12 days, we have no water, no heat, no light.
2 weeks ago tonight, Ireland faced its most powerful storm in decades. Storm Éowyn made landfall in the southwest before leaving a trail of destruction across the country. By the time the red warnings were lifted, record-breaking winds of 184 kilometres per hour had been recorded, leaving nearly 770,000 homes and businesses in the dark, which all adds up to a national emergency that's likely to cost in the hundreds of millions to clean up. Tonight, 7,000 homes, farms and businesses across the country are still without power. But how did we get here? Well, it started with a warning. In the days before Éowyn made landfall, we were warned to expect one of the most severe storms that Ireland has ever seen. Power cuts were flagged in advance, but not on this scale. In the last decade, other major storms have also knocked the lights out. Ophelia in 2017 left nearly 400,000 homes and businesses in the dark. But Éowyn was on another level, cutting power to nearly twice as many, according to ESB networks. No power meant businesses and schools were forced to close, transport links cancelled and hospitals relying on emergency generators. Communications failed too. Éowyn caused the largest telecoms outage in the history of the state, according to the regulator. Over 1 million telecoms users were left with no phone coverage or broadband at all. Internet connection speeds collapsed by 78% nationally, as 1,000 key sites were taken offline. With Met Éireann warning that extreme weather events are becoming more frequent, what can we do to ensure we're not caught off guard again? Unlike much of Europe, most of our electricity network still runs above ground. And while it's hard to draw comparisons between countries given variables like population density and our love of one-off rural housing, we're still an outlier. Just 16% of Ireland's electricity network is underground, far behind Sweden and Finland, which have over 40% underground, despite lower population densities. The Netherlands leads the way with 90% underground. But even if we wanted to emulate the Nordic countries, experts like Dr. Barry Hayes at UCC say undergrounding isn't realistic. The price tag, close to 100 billion. The time frame, decades of disruption.
In Ireland, we have over 150,000 kilometres of overhead lines, and the cost of putting all of that underground would just be prohibitive. It would also be very disruptive. We'd have to reroute a lot of the lines that run across fields and so on in the country, and we'd have to dig up all of our roads.
So, if undergrounding isn't an option, what is? Well, the government yesterday said it'll be focusing on reinforcing ageing infrastructure. Some of the poles carrying our cables are half a century old. It's also looking at creating forestry corridors to prevent further damage. That damage costs money, which the ESB says will eventually make its way onto customers' bills. But these weather events also come with related insurance costs. The big freezes of 2010 required over $500 million in payouts, according to figures from Insurance Ireland. Storm Darwin in 2014 cost $111 million. And already estimates of up to $200 million are being predicted for Éowyn. This storm has not been directly linked to climate change, but we do know that climate change will mean more extreme weather events in the years ahead. With all that in mind, experts say we need to be better prepared next time. Some even say we should have been better prepared this time too.
I did an assessment of Ireland's capacity to adapt to climate change back in 2011. And even back then, we found that we weren't adequately prepared. We have the data, we had the data back then, but we weren't adequately planning, acting, investing or learning at that time. But we aren't doing the investing, and we're definitely not doing the learning about these adaptation actions, embedding that and then passing it on to other sectors. So we have quite a long way to go, and I think Storm Éowyn shows us just how unprepared we are overall as society for extreme weather events.
Storm Éowyn was the worst storm to hit Ireland in decades, but another one will come. The question now is what needs to be done to make sure that next time Ireland is ready.